Glad to have you guys here. Great, if everyone will take a seat. So glad to have you here. I just absolutely love Wednesday mornings, and we are all about building entrepreneurial community. So who is here for the first time? Raise your hand. Awesome, welcome. We're glad to have you. Who here would consider themselves entrepreneurs? I'm in that category as well. Awesome. If you don't mind, next. So beautiful. Thank you. That's fine. We are here to help build your community that you're a part of. We're so glad to have you here with us. If you'll move to the next one. These are our organizers. We have Philip Baird and Craig Jameson, myself. Deb Bellotti has just stepped on from being an organizer, and she's now on our advisory board. And we have Jonathan Putnam. And then we are so happy to announce LaDonna Griner. We're so glad to have her as a part. LaDonna is a motivational speaker and coach. She's owned several businesses on her own and has worked in the nonprofit sector as well. So welcome on board. So glad to have her as a part. And these are our sponsors. Jonathan has brick and mortar coffee every single week. He brings coffee. Isn't that incredible? Every single week. Incredible, incredible coffee. We have Database Solutions. They're our Apple Premier sponsor. They have an Apple computer out front every single week so that if you have not signed up for the newsletter, please put your email in and we'll keep you up to date with what's going on. The Art Museum, every week, they donate this location, and we're so glad to be a part of what they're doing here. And then Spark Events, they take care of our sound and our video, and they're doing an incredible job. So if you need anyone for any corporate events, if you're needing them for corporate events, contact them. And what else do we have? This is how you can get in touch with us. Tweet, post, like, and then also, if you know anyone that may want to present, have them fill out an application on our website and bring a friend each week. So now I am happy to introduce Buffy with the City of Springfield. Give her a hand.
She's not on. She's not on.
We recognize that it is not a small task to operate a business, and it can be confusing and overwhelming. So when it comes to the paperwork part of it, we want to make that process as simple and effective as possible, and start people out on the right foot so that year after year it becomes easier and easier. And I'm still Buffy Smith. Okay, so generally, who needs a license? One misconception is that you have to be selling a tangible product. But really, anyone who offers a service or sells a product in the city of Springfield is required to have a business license. That's true whether you're a sole proprietor just using a DBA or if you're a large corporation. Both residential and commercial-based businesses can be licensed as well. So it's not a situation where you have to have a brick and mortar concept, no pun intended, before you need a business license. Now, there are several different categories. There's actually over 190 categories of business license. But the nice thing is you really don't need to define that category for yourself before you come and visit us. We can help you through that process. So how many licenses are we talking about? Today, we have over 13,000 active business licenses in our file, and those are permanent annual licenses. We average about 3,000 temporary licenses a year. And if you look, the number remains rather steady. We range from 12 to 1,500 new licenses each year, and we're renewing between 11 and 12,000 each year. And of course, some businesses go out, but as they do, as quickly as they go out, more businesses come in. So we are by no means seeing a decrease in interest. But as is true with every rule, there are exceptions. So the state of Missouri has determined that some municipalities cannot be licensed by local municipalities. These are examples of some occupations that the state will not allow a municipality to license. So if you're operating as one of these entities or one of these occupations, you wouldn't be required to have a license for that activity. The same is true, they've also chosen these particular categories that you must have a physical location in Springfield before we would require a license. But again, these exemptions only apply when you're acting in that capacity. So if Sally's a CPA, I'm not going to license her accounting service. But if she opens a restaurant, she would need a license for that activity. So what's a business license application like? Primarily, it's very basic information. So when you're filling out the application, we're looking for business information, such as your business name, the officers, where you're located at. If you're operating from a commercial location in Springfield, part of your application is going to be a zoning form. Sometimes that phrasing petrifies people and they assume we want them to change their zoning. No. It's just part of the application that allows you the opportunity to say, this is the type of activity I'm conducting at this location, and let's building development sign off and acknowledge that your use at that location is approved. I can't stress enough as a helpful tip, before you look at renting or purchasing or leasing a commercial structure, please come and see us at the city first. Let us help you, because unfortunately, we've run into some situations where someone signs their name to a lease or agreement or bill of sale and then finds out that they can't use that structure for that intended use. It's not a safe gauge to go by what was there before, because sometimes that's why the guy's no longer there, because he determined that you can't do auto repair at that location or you can't be a manufacturer. So before you sign your name, obligate yourself financially, please come and let us help you through that process. The nice thing is you don't have to have a commercial location to operate a business. A number of occupations can be licensed from your residence. So if you're just getting started or you don't want the overhead, oftentimes a home occupation license is an option. There are a few more questions that we will ask regarding storage, equipment. Neighbors generally aren't fond of having a backhoe parked in someone's backyard, so we'll help you work through those issues. And then the fee. Section 7084 lists the fees that each type of business will pay. I didn't list them all. There's over 195 categories. Some of those are flat fees. Some are based on gross receipts. But again, we'll be happy to help you through that process. I'm sorry, Siri, the mic really is on. One common denominator is also a sales tax license. If you're selling a tangible product, you will likely be required to have a sales tax license. But that's not all. The state of Missouri also looks at some services that's taxable. If I own a hotel, I'm going to charge sales tax on the rental of that room. So as part of the handout that we laid in the front lobby, there's a link to the Department of Revenue and their website. So if you have questions about tax-exempt activities, hopefully we can help you find that answer. Bonded insurance, we get a good number of calls. How much insurance do I need for this type of business? Are you going to require a bond? For the most part, we leave that decision up to you. Most bonded insurance decisions are just left up to the entrepreneur, to the business owner. There are, however, a few categories that the state of Missouri or the city has deemed is required to provide proof of insurance before operating. Those categories are listed for the most part there, and including trolley bikes. The state of Missouri also requires that if a contractor carries workers' comp, they provide that certificate of insurance to us before we license them. If your business involves the handling of food, you're going to need a health inspection. There are different health requirements depending upon if you're a mobile establishment or if you're an established restaurant. So again, there's a link in the presentation in the handout to the Greene County Health Department. If there's an alcohol component to your business license, that's a presentation all in of itself. Today, what I would encourage you to do is give us a call early on. There's state, city, and county requirements. There's requirements regarding your location, what's within a 200-foot radius of your location. So please, if you're interested in that, again, before you sign your name to a location, give us a call, let us help you work through that process. There's also an abundance of information on our website as to what the requirements are for a liquor license. How do you apply? We now have our applications online. So if you prefer to fill it out online, please visit our website. There's some very basic applications there. We're at springfieldmo.gov/licensing. It has some general information that I've presented in brief here. There also has helps to links to city and state websites as well as a few others. And there's a business license search. So perhaps you're interested in utilizing a business, but you want to make sure they have an active license before you do so. You can search our 13,000 business licenses online. And you can also download and upload those applications. This is an example of what our primary page looks like on the business license website, answering general questions and providing you links to other activities that the City of Springfield License Division is involved with. This is the page what you would navigate to if you want to submit an application online. Those few bullet points there, those 5, that's all you really need to read through if you really want to submit an application. Again, they're very basic. You don't have to know which of the 195 categories you're going to be categorized as. You just need to know where you're operating from, and if you're based in Springfield or outside Springfield, and how long you want to stay. Is it going to be 7 days, or are you intending to run a regular annual business license? This is what one of the applications looks like online. Again, it's just business name, address, the categories grayed out so that it's not your requirement. This section E, business description, that is your minefield. That's where you get to tell us exactly what you want to do. So the more description and the more information you provide us with, the better prepared we will be able to help you. You're also welcome to come and visit us. We have walk-in traffic on a daily basis, and we're open through the lunch hour. We're located at 840 North Boonville. We're the first floor of the Bush Building, and literally the first door on your right. These are some links that I've provided in the handout and are also available on our website. So there provides the email address for the license division. The Muni code also will take you directly to all the city codes. Chapter 70 is the one that regulates business licensing. There's also a link to the building development services in case you want to pull a building permit or do some type of work to your structure. This, again, is our contact information. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Great job, Buffy. Thanks so much. So part of what we're trying to do is help educate the entrepreneurial community, and Buffy brought really a great word. I appreciate it this morning. So anyone, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We will pass the mic around, and she'll answer those questions for you. LaDonna, did you have a question?
I do have a question if no one has one right now. What about an online business? Where does that fall in licensing?
That's a good question. Sometimes there's a misconception, I only operate online, do I not need a license? If you're operating online, that still constitutes soliciting or conducting a business, so you would be required to have a license. The paperwork may be less, but it is still required.
Thank you. Got one right here.
And Deb Wilson with O-Steam. And what about nonprofits? They still have to have a business license, is that correct?
Actually, no. In the city of Springfield, if you're a nonprofit organization, we will not require you to have a business license. There is a section of code that says if a nonprofit organization leaves their campus to solicit funds, that there is a permit required. It is a zero-cost, nonprofit public solicitation permit, but it allows our office to double-check to make sure you really are not-for-profit. So when a citizen calls and says, hey, I'm being solicited for some funds at the Battlefield Mall or in this parking lot, we can verify that, yes, the organization filed proof of their nonprofit. But again, it's a zero cost.
Any other questions?
Buffy, I work out of my home. So are there any certain, I am licensed, by the way, just to make that clear. But what are some of the things we should be prepared, the questions we should be prepared to answer when we work out of our home?
That's a good question. Customer contact. Again, they're trying to maintain the residential aspect of the neighborhood, so there will be questions as to what type of customer contact you have at your home. Ideally, they're not looking to approve someone having 15 customers in a waiting area at their residence. But if you're using it primarily for phone and office and mailing use, not storing large-scale equipment, generally that's something we can help you get approved.
Jason with AITP. We see a lot of new ideas in the area through startup weekends and pitches and such. At what point does a concept need to be licensed? When they have customers or employees, or what do you consider reason to license?
That's a great question. The code defines it as soon as you are soliciting or accepting business. So even if you're not grossing anything, even if you're not making any money, if you're putting yourself out there for hire or your service is out available to the public for compensation, you would need to obtain a license at that point. And again, I encourage you, our code, part of these categories have been in place since the 1960s. So at that point, there were no internet cafes, there were no wellness coaches. So if you have a new business enterprise and you're not even sure if maybe that's something that's specifically addressed in the code, contact us early. Let us help you through that process early on so that it's not a surprise when you're ready to open your doors or when you're ready to gross a considerable amount of revenue that you really aren't sure where you're fitting. So contact us early, but you need a license before you begin soliciting.
Go for it, Drake.
You had a list of services that didn't require licensing. What are the reasonings behind those not needing it?
The state of Missouri decided that. It wasn't a choice that the city made. There's a statute 71, I believe it's 71.620, that lists that certain occupations will not be licensed by municipalities. Why the state made that choice, I can't tell you. I know it's been in place for over 20 years. Periodically, that's updated. Other occupations are added to different statutes that the city will not license. In my time, I've seen it change to include wreckers, that we won't license a wrecker service unless they have a storage facility here. So, but for the most part, the assumption should be you need one. The list of the people that don't need a license is significantly smaller than the list of people that do.
Okay, Deb.
Yeah, I have another question. Or actually, first of all, a statement. Last year we had an event called the Ozarks Mini Maker Fair, and the city expected me. We had a little young maker selling her little. She made. What is that tape that everybody uses? No.
Velcro?
Duct tape, thank you. Thank you. Duct tape, but they were really cute ones, but she had taken that and used that to make pins, and she was selling them at the Maker Fair for $3 each. And the city said she had to have a business license, and at first, I thought, well, that's not, it's just a little kid, she's just 9 years old. But I really, after I thought about that a lot, I thought, that is really a great opportunity for these young entrepreneurs, they're really young makers, to actually come through and go through that process so that then they can share it with, their other friends. Oh, I have official license, through Springfield to sell my products. So the other thing I have that was a statement, but the question was, what about like when you have an event or something and a company comes from outside, let's say even a machine shop comes into town, just not necessarily promoting their business, but showing what they do, like with our Maker Fair, we have people from all over the area come and set up their wares, and they don't understand why they have to have a business license when they're just, showing like what a mold would look like and how they make molds and things like that.
And if it's just display only, part of the way the city code is worded is if you're putting yourself there advertising your business, that constitutes operating a business in the city of Springfield. And from the city's perspective, we're going to try to treat everyone as equitably as possible. So the person that's coming in from Oklahoma to advertise to sell wares at a show, the ultimate goal is that if they're going to gross revenue off this, it's a business enterprise. So we do have a very non-expensive license that we offer to craft or group show participants. You can get a license that's good for 1 month of craft show activity for $5. So our fees are not exorbitant, but we do have an obligation to treat everyone equitably. So the contractor coming up from Texas to build a structure that I'm requiring to pay a license based on gross receipts and provide me proof of his workers' comp has at least some satisfaction in that we're also requiring people that are coming in at craft shows to obtain at least a nominal license. So when we try to work with the promoter, some promoters choose to take care of all of the licenses for their applicants, for their participants, and that's fine. I will give any promoter a heads up that at January 1st of this year, the state of Missouri significantly changed their sales tax laws as far as how craft show and group show participants have to report tax. So the city is now required to make sure that those craft show participants have a sales tax license. We've revised our application to try to point you towards some possible exemptions. And we understand that the state is a little backlogged. They don't have a Springfield office anymore. So generally, there's a 90-day window that we try to give you a receipt to operate off of while you work through your state issues. So it is a work in progress. So if you have concerns or comments or suggestions in that regard, don't hesitate to pass them on to me because it is new and we're trying to adapt as the state changes.
Okay, great. We've got one in the center here.
Hey, thanks, Buffy. Great presentation. We're learning stuff that we maybe didn't know before or didn't want to know before. I don't know which. The question I have is maybe a little unorthodox, but what would be the primary benefit to a person owning or obtaining a business license? How does it benefit us? Which I haven't heard you say, and how much is it?
My answer is going to be real direct. It's a law requirement. You are required to have a business license. So the benefit is to you is that you are obeying the law. A side benefit to that is business. You would be surprised by the number of entities and citizens and other businesses that check, that want to make sure that they're operating and that they're conducting business with someone who's complied with the requirements, that they are recognized as a lawful entity in the city of Springfield. So my first suggestion is because it's the law. And second, there is some benefit because it lets other entities and citizens and customers know that you've done all you can to comply with the code requirements. A good question.
Jason with AITP again. Some municipalities use the business licensing to fund economic development growth. Does City of Springfield do that, or how are the funds used?
That's a great question. All of the funds that are derived from the license division go back into the general fund. So that's funneling back into public safety, the police and fire. It's funneling back to specific public safety concerns, general revenue funds. It's not going toward economic development, but just maintaining status quo for the citizens of Springfield.
Great. Well, we've got one last question
Sure.
for you. So we always like to ask, what can we as a community do for you?
And that's a great question. I encourage you highly to reach out. We recently, only in the past few years, have put our applications online. Let me know what works for you. Let me know what doesn't work for you. Let me know what would be helpful. And the best thing you can do to help yourselves as a community is to reach out early. When you're interested in starting a business, when you're curious about what you would need, don't wait until you're ready to open. As soon as you are ready to discuss what you want to do, contact us, call the city, let us walk you through the process, let us outline what's going to be required so that there aren't any unpleasant surprises or unnecessary delays. I hate to see a customer unfortunately hit a wall when they realize I can't locate at this location or this is going to take a little longer than I expected. So as soon as you start milling around that idea, there's no charge to call. There's no charge to come in and visit. Let us give you all the information we can so that you're better equipped to help yourself.
Wonderful. And Buffy will be around afterwards to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for being one of our community partners.
Thank you.
Appreciate the educational session. So.
Thank you, Buffy. That was great. I know that they're very patient because as a business owner, I didn't know that I had to have a Springfield license. I didn't even know that we had that here until I got the letter in the mail. And then we exchanged phone calls for a while, and then I got the threatening letter in the mail. So I decided it's time to go down and have a little chat with them. So I did, and I'm all legal now. But they're very nice. So thank you, Buffy, for filling us in there. Let's see, announcements this morning. Bowl for Kids' Sake is still going on. It's not too late to form a team. So if you would like to join a team or form a team for big brothers, big sisters, please jump on board there for Bowl for Kids' Sake at Andy B's. And Refine M has several trainings available this month and next month. Actually, all of these that are available now are next month. So, as does the Small Business and Technology Development at MSU. And Scholar Prep, it's that time of year to start thinking about colleges for your juniors and your sophomores. It's never too soon, I'm sure Jordan would say. But if you have a high school student, this is a great program for them. And OSTEAM, Deb is here today. They have their Mini Maker Fair organizational meeting on the 15th. That's this Friday, I believe. And then Vacation Rental has a training session coming up, and they've presented here before. If you're interested in them, you can go online and look at their YouTube video from when they presented if you want to know more about them. By the way, all of the presentations are on YouTube, 1 Million Cups Springfield YouTube, if you ever want to go back and see one that you missed or pick up on more information from like today's presentation on licensing. And then, if you have a community announcement, send it to springfieldmo@1millioncups.com, and we will get it on the board here. I know there's another one that was requested to announce, and that was a meetup that's coming up on this Friday. It'll be at 425. It's for any type of business owner at 425 Walnut. So we welcome you to join that. And plus, I want to give a shout out to Larry from Advanced Technologies? Advanced Fabrication Technologies. He brought the donuts in this morning, so thank you very much. We appreciate that, and we all enjoyed it, I'm sure. So if you didn't get one, I'm sure there's still some out there. Help yourselves. And now, I think this is a great follow-up to the licensing, because I can't wait to hear how long it took and all the process that they went to, as well as more about their business for the trolley bike. So we welcome Brian.
I don't think I need the mic.
Oh, your mic, yeah. Nope. Just one.
Can you hear me now? All right. My name's Brian Ash. My wife, Courtney, and I, who's down here in the front row, we are the trolley bike people. And who here has seen the trolley bike? All right. Who here has no idea what the trolley bike is? And this is the first I've heard. All right, a few of them, all right. And then who has actually been on the trolley bike and ridden it? All right, okay. Well, usually the first time, if somebody's never seen the trolley bike before, there she is, big, it's orange, you're not gonna miss it. I say it's as subtle as a pap smear. But the trolley bike is basically, when somebody asks me what the heck is that thing, I say if a go-kart and a bicycle had a baby, you'd get a trolley bike. And it's basically like a limo or a party bus. You get a group of friends together, you rent it out for 2 hours, we go around downtown, and we can stop wherever you want. You bring your own coolers, and you can enjoy your own beverages while you're on there. But I couldn't really bring the bike here today because it's too far from downtown to get it here this early in the morning, and it's really hard to describe it. So I thought we would show a short video and show what the trolley bike is. So here we go. What you do when you first show up is you got to sign a waiver form. If you fall off and kill yourself, you can't sue us. If you want to bring your own coolers of beer, you can, or if you want to just show up empty-handed, all our tours starting into Brewco, so they make crowlers of beer. So you can just show up empty-handed, they'll get a beer for you, they'll supply coolers that you can borrow, and then your friends, we load you up on the bike here. And the people sometimes wonder, do we just do it ourselves? No, we supply, like a limo has a chauffeur, we call it a conductor since it's the trolley bike. So we supply the conductor. That's the guy in the orange shirt at the front, steering, braking. The people who are pedaling and drinking have no impact on where the bike goes. They're just basically providing the human power, because it really is a bike. You really do pedal. We have an electric assist to help you get up hills, or if you decide you don't want to pedal anymore, it's really easy to do. But basically, it's just something really fun to do, to be seen and see the sights downtown and all that. And it's great for bachelor parties or bachelorette parties or any sort of corporate events or things like that. It's just a fun thing to do. We go all around downtown. We'll stop at either bars, or you can get somewhere to eat or whatever. And so that's kind of what the trolley bike is. Hopefully that video kind of helped explain it better. Whoops, apparently I was too quick on it. Next question is, people ask me, well, where did you get the idea for this? And this is one of those businesses that got invented via Facebook. One of my friends was in Nashville, and they have the party bikes there, and they said, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Springfield should get one of these. And I'd never heard of it before, and so I started investigating it a little bit, and I was like, wow, that is really a great idea. We should maybe bring one of those to Springfield. So my wife was like, well, cool your jets. Before we start doing anything here, let's actually try one out and make sure, because it looks great on paper, but maybe it's not that fun when you try one. So the closest one is in St. Louis. So we went to St. Louis, and we tried it there, and we were like, okay, yeah, this is great. Like, the one in St. Louis is near Soulard, and that's kind of down by Busch Stadium and Anheuser-Busch, and we had people running out of Anheuser-Busch brewery tours to take pictures of us on the bike. And we're like, you know, if it's been here 4 years and it's still turning heads, I think it could be popular here in Springfield. So then usually the next question after somebody figures out, well, where did you guys get the idea? They're like, how is this legal? And that is probably, it's very appropriate that we follow Buffy, because it was, when we went into this bike, it was expensive, and we weren't going to spend all that money to buy a bike until we were sure that the city was going to sign off on it. So before we did anything, we met with Buffy's office, and we actually had to go to city council to get them to draft a trolley bike ordinance because no one's ever done this before. Now it's in 80 other different cities, so we gave them sample ordinances and showed them here's how other people have done it. And actually the city was great to work with. I mean, it was one of those things where we definitely ran into a few hurdles along the way, which was to be expected. The pioneer always takes the arrows, but we were able to work through it. And I kind of like a challenge like that of getting it figured out. And eventually the city did create an ordinance. We are now an exemption to the open container ordinance, just like an outdoor cafe or something like that. So as long as you're on the trolley bike, you're allowed to have an open container, and that's how it's legal. And when we first were pitching it, we're like, again, using the party bus or the limo analogy, it's really not any different than that. You're allowed to drink on those. They have a chauffeur. We have the conductor. So it's really, the more you think about it, you see how other cities do it, then you're like, okay, well, maybe that's not as crazy as it initially sounds. Next, people ask, well, so what were some of your biggest hurdles, being that we're all entrepreneurs here and that? Definitely getting the ordinance passed was a huge hurdle to get done. And in that, we actually ran into a few roadblocks where it almost looked like we weren't going to be able to get past it. One of them was the question of, is it a vehicle or is it a bike? Because if it's a vehicle, that opens a whole nother can of worms of licensing. It has to pass the safety inspection. It has to get licensed by the state. And because it's a bike, it'll never meet all the requirements. I mean, I had conversations with the guy at the head of the highway patrol, and it just, if we were going to be considered a vehicle, this wasn't going to happen. And I find that a lot of times when we'd run into a hurdle, you'd be like, okay, if it's not specifically spelled out somewhere that it's legal, is it legal or not? And I would say, well, unless something specifically says it's illegal, it must be legal. And other people who are a little bit more conservative, which I understand, would be like, well, you're going to have something that says it's legal. So we finally had to get Lincoln Huff's office to reach out to the Department of Revenue and finally make a ruling, because the city was kind of deferring to the state, and they said, no, it's a bike. Even though it's the electronic assist, it's still a bike, because the ordinance that defines, or the state statute that defines a vehicle says if it's human-powered, horse-powered, or on rail, it's not a vehicle. And even though we do have the electric assist, it is human-powered. I mean, yes, we have the electric assist, but you can ride this thing. It is a bike. And another big hurdle that we ran into was when the city was drafting the ordinance. At first, they were requiring that our conductors would have to have a commercial driver's license, which is a big deal. I mean, if anyone out there is familiar with what it takes to get a commercial driver's license, you can't just hire someone off the street and get a CDL. I mean, that's the same thing you need to drive an 18-wheeler or a bus or things like that. And to be perfectly honest, since it's a bike, you really don't need any license at all. So we finally, when it came before City Council, got them to take that down to a chauffeur's license, which we're happy with. That's just another written test on top of a normal driver's license, but that's much easier than a CDL. So I'd say those were our two biggest hurdles that we had to face. I like this slide because you see the people who are all excited. Every time we go around downtown, people are waving to us. You get high fives. You get some people who are slack-jawed and a lot of like, what the heck is that? And then people ask us, so what's your marketing plan? And honestly, the marketing plan is just getting people on the bike, because when people get on the bike, they end up posting about it on social media. And this is just a smattering of people who've taken their own pictures. And we have a aggregator that if people, we encourage them to use hashtag the trolley bike or at the trolley bike, and our social media aggregator automatically pulls in all their photos. So it's one of those things, you know, you talk about things going viral. This business will continue to grow over time. The more people do it, and more people say they have an awesome time at the end of a tour, I tell them, okay, I'm now deputizing you. You're my disciples. Go forth and spread the gospel and tell other people how fun this was. So it's one of those real-world viral things that the more people get on the bike, the more people enjoy it, the more we're going to get people who want to do it themselves. So that's pretty much my presentation. I wanted to leave plenty of time at the end for questions and things. So I know, thank you.
What are your hours of operation on a staggered?
Yep. It's and by the way, everything's going to be on the website, just because I'm happy to answer lots of questions here today, but everything's on the website as far as pricing, hours, and all that. But let me hit a few of those, since that's Jennifer's question. We have 2 tours on Monday through Friday. It's a 5:30 to 7:30 tour and an 8 to 10 p.m. tour. And then on Saturday and Sunday, the tours start at 10 a.m. and go to 10 p.m. But all the tours are 2 hours with a half-hour break in between. Another question people have is price. To rent out the whole bike is $300 during the week or $350 on Friday or Saturday. And by the time you divide that between the bike seats up to 14 people, it's less than like $25 a head.
Great, okay. If you have any questions, raise your hand, please.
Got one right there.
Okay,
I'm trying to get the mic working first.
gotcha.
We got one back here.
We've got one.
Hi, Brian. Good work.
Thank you.
Two questions. Number one, what's the minimum number of people to make it efficient? And number two, if you got a waiting list where you're considering investing in the second bike?
Okay. The minimum number that we recommend is 8, just so you'll have enough pedal power. To be honest with you, I can move the bike with nobody on it. But I think it's best to have 8 people on your tour just so you've got enough pedal power. And then as far as getting a second bike, someday I'm fairly confident we will. Courtney, you couldn't hear, but she had an audible sigh when you asked that question because she's, but yeah, eventually, I mean, the other people who do this there's the guy who built our bike in Bend, Oregon, he has 6 bikes. So, I mean, yeah, eventually, hopefully there's tons of people who want to do it and we'll have more than one bike.
Great, okay, we'll take another question.
Hey, great presentation.
Thank you.
My wife and I, driving downtown with our kids, have seen the bike rolling around, and I've said to her, I would really like to get on that thing and ride it someday, and she replied, you're going to have to do that by yourself. But I had a quick question about your guys' liability. What kind of insurance did you guys have to obtain in order to get the city to push all this through? And I know you said you have your anyone riding on the bike sign a waiver. It showed that in the beginning of the video, but I was just kind of curious about that aspect of
Sure.
Getting that going.
All right. Yeah, we do have to have liability insurance, and that was actually part of the ordinance to allow us to do this. The city required, and I'm not actually going to remember the exact numbers. I want to say it was $250,000 or maybe $1 million, but whatever. We have more insurance than the city required because we wanted to make sure we covered ourselves as well. And there's special, it's called pedicab insurance, which actually doesn't sound right to me because the pedicabs are different than we are, but it's actually insured by Lloyd's of London. And there's enough of these now that, again, had we been the very first ones to do it, it probably would have been hard to get it insured, but since there's 80 of them now, there's companies who underwrite this sort of thing. And then I forgot the second part of your question. What was it about?
I think you got it.
Oh, and also about the waiver form and all that. Yeah, it's just something, again, that our insurance company required. When we filled out our insurance application, they wanted to see our business plan and several things, and one of it was the waiver. And again, since there's 80 other people that do it, we were able to see, we kind of took the best of how the other people have done it, and that's how we drafted our waiver.
Okay, great. We've got a question in the back.
Are you a franchise? Is there an umbrella trolley bike company?
No, sir, we're not. We are our own independent thing. And there are people who do these that they have franchises available. And that's one option you can go. If someone's trying to start one of these businesses, there are franchises you can get. But no, we're our own independent thing, and the trolley bike is the only trolley bike that there is right now. One thing that I thought of earlier that I want to circle back to, with all the ordinances and everything, and you know, Buffy's thing about licensing and all that, we actually like that there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and you may not think of that at first intuitively, but that's going to help limit competition. I mean, there was a lot of hurdles to have to jump through to do this, and if somebody else wants to come and compete with us, there's a lot of insurance requirements, a lot of things that have to be done. So we were actually supportive of making it fairly difficult for us to do this because that'll sort of help limit the competition.
Okay, okay.
All right, I have a couple questions.
All right.
First, what are you going to do in the winter? Are you going to like have hot chocolate on the bike and go around, or what's your plan?
All right. Because people ask us about this, is it just seasonal or whatever? And honestly, with global warming, I mean, I could see us, I mean, legit, maybe December and January people won't do it, but some people still might want to go see Christmas lights or whatever downtown. And frankly, if anyone's crazy enough to want to do it, we'll do it, as long as there's not, you know, a foot of snow on the ground or whatever. But I see it, honestly, as warm as it's been lately, I guarantee we'll be out in November, and I guarantee we'll be out in February. So maybe December and January it won't go, but otherwise, we're probably going to go 10 months out of the year.
They'll just have to pedal more, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that?
They'll have to pedal faster, right?
That's right, yeah, to get through the snow.
My other question is, are you going to plan on having a family bike for people that are under 21 or want to go around with their family and have a good time?
All right, That's a great question, thank you, because I didn't really hit on that. Right now, what we say is you have to be at least 18 to ride, but if anyone's under 21, nobody drinks. So basically, if anyone's drinking, then everyone has to be 21. But we'll let people 18 and under, or we've even said if they've got a parent with them, maybe 16 or 17. But we've had people reach out to us and say, well, what about I want to do my kid's birthday party? Like the one gentleman who said, my wife and kids have seen it and they want to get on there. And someone approached us and was talking birthday party, blah, blah, blah. And then I could kind of feel like, well, how old is your daughter? And she said like 7. And I was like, no, I don't think she'd reach the pedals. And this really isn't geared up to that. I mean, this really is geared more for adults for both liability reasons and just seat heights and all of that. But there are bench seats in the back, like if somebody can't pedal or doesn't want to pedal. There's also 2 seats that are over wheel wells that don't have pedals. So we call those 4 seats the coasters because they don't have to pedal. But ideally, it is more something for adults. But I also want to hit the point of it's not just a big drunk fest. I mean, we've had corporate things. BKD rented it out for their recruits who are coming into town. We've got Hogan Land Title doing it tonight, which they probably will do some drinking. But there's other people. It's just not always just go out and get drunk. I mean, we could even see church groups or other things doing it. It's not just, you know, alcohol. It's honestly a lot of fun. One analogy that I have, I feel like with Mexican Villa, people either love it or hate it. There's no in between. And that's like with the trolley bike. Either you think it's the craziest idea you ever heard, or you think it's the greatest idea you've ever heard. And when you're on it, you get it. You're like, okay, yeah, this is a lot of fun.
My question doesn't have much consequence. I'm just curious. You said there's 80 cities with this, but that website's just yours? Or when you click on it, is it like Craigslist and you click one of the cities? Or
Nope.
How did you obtain the website? Is it is the trolley bike a phrase you came up with, or is it the article in front of it?
Yeah, the trolleybike.com is my website. My day job is Calibrate Marketing. I own a website search engine optimization business. So I built the website, and if you click on that, it's just the trolley bike. It's just us. The category known more broadly, you'll either hear them referred to as beer bikes or party bikes, but we are the trolley bike, and we're the only trolley bike. So if you click on that, it's all about us.
Have you trademarked that name?
No, I haven't yet. Again, my wife's saying you need to get on that.
You
but
do.
We haven't done that yet. So.
And when was your first rental, and how many rentals, tours have you done since your first one?
Gotcha. Our first tour was April 16th, so we're not even quite 3 months old yet. I don't know the exact number of tours, but I do know we're already in the black. It takes about $1,500 a month to break even, and we've been averaging about $5,000 a month in rentals. So it's already turning a profit. And you know, once we get the bike paid off, what I love about this is it's really low overhead. I mean, you pay off the bike, you pay our conductors, you pay the insurance, and that's it. We get our rent for free. I didn't touch on that all our tours start and end at Springfield Brewing Company, but they've been great to partner with because our bike is in the back of Springfield Brewing Company, so we don't have to pay rent for that. So it's very low overhead, and so yeah, it's something that besides it just being fun, we're hoping to actually make some money doing it.
Well, congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question for you. So I've heard you do your dry run, so I know the answer to this question, but I'd like you to share, if you're comfortable with, just how much does a trolley bike cost, and how much does a ride cost to book the whole thing?
All right. To buy the bike, it was $50,000. So this is not like something cheap. And we went for kind of like the Cadillac version. I wanted the pimped out, biggest motor, lights, everything. So we went for the all-out version. And it's got the electric assist and all that. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I see what she's saying. Are you guys familiar with North Star? They're located here in Springfield. They are actually one of our partners, and so we use their batteries to do it. So we've got, actually, let me just hit on several partners, because that's being good since I'm out in public. Brewco's obviously our biggest partner. North Star, we call them the official boosters of the trolley bike, because it's that. And then Queen City Cycles, we call them the official pit crew, because they're making sure that since it's a bike, that it's operating smoothly. And then, Jonathan, your second question about how much it is to rent it out or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's $300 during the week, $350 on Friday and Saturday. And if you do an individual by the seat, it's $35 a seat.
And you're keeping it pretty full throughout the week?
It is. It's at first it was mostly weekends. This week we actually have something every day, like Tuesday through Saturday we have something. But there's still plenty of openings. If you guys want to get on there, even the booking calendar and everything, it's all online. So it shows you when it's available, you book, you pay with your credit card, you just do everything on the website.
Great. We've got a question in the back.
Quick note, Brian, we talked about how young they can be. I wanted to point out we had a birthday party that the person having the birthday was turning 60. She was the youngest on the bike. The oldest was 80, and those ladies knew how to
Buck,
party.
Stand up for a second. Hey, Buck, stand on up. That's Buck. Buck's actually one of our conductors. So. Woohoo! And what's great about Buck is, like, I don't know, I'm not as outgoing as Buck is, so I actually like when Buck is one of the conductors because he's a lot more friendlier than I am and fun, and he's like a mule driver. He'll go pedal, 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 and make them pedal and all that. And he's a lot of fun. So if you ever book it, you might want to request Buck because he'll take great care of you guys.
So Brian, what if the batteries die and and everybody has to pedal? Can they actually move the bike?
Absolutely, and that actually happened. When we first got it, we didn't know how long will the batteries last, and one time we had 4 tours, and we found out that the battery lasts for 3 3/4 of a tour. And so the last 30 minutes, we had no pedal or no electricity left. Now, luckily, we were uphill, and it was downhill almost all the way, so mostly it was coasting. It was mostly easy. There was one little slight hill going up into the square, and they were pretty intoxicated, but my wife was kind of there cracking the whip and making sure that they pedaled.
And he's not letting you know. The guys on the bike tuckered out, so it's 5 girls and I that got the bike all the way out. Just as an FYI on that one.
Okay. Was Buck your conductor on that one?
No, Buck wasn't there.
Buck wasn't there, Brian was there.
Yeah, but what we learned after that is we now, if we have multiple tours like that, we now plug it up because there's a 30-minute gap in between tours. We now charge it in between tours, and so that happened once, and now we learned, okay, so it's not going to happen again, don't worry.
I'm glad to know that the conductor is not able to drink and that those that are pedaling, that they don't have any force with the direction. They just keep pedaling,
Right.
so good to know. So we always like to ask, what can we as a community do for you?
All right, I'm big of several things. Number one, first and foremost, please come book a tour on the trolley bike. If you guys think of things that maybe I wouldn't have thought of, last night we had the DSA mixer downtown, and someone approached me, you know, the whole big Pokemon Go craze that's going on. Apparently, like, Uber is letting people do rides and get their things, and he's like, you should do like a Pokemon thing on there, and I don't know anything about it, so, but I thought that was a good idea. So if you just think of any things that maybe we wouldn't have thought of, shoot me an email or whatever and let me know. And then, since we're doing this tonight, I wanted to have kind of a giveaway, and so I'm going to offer a free trolley bike tour tonight, but here's the deal, here's the caveat. That's short notice because it's from 8 to 10 tonight, but here's the incentive to want to do it. Are you guys familiar with Greg Holman of the News Leader? He does Greg's List or whatever. Well, it's his birthday today, and so tonight, he's going to come on the trolley bike and do a Greg's List, and so we need to get enough people to go with it so he can go out. So we're going to give away 12 seats tonight. And so what we're going to do is when we're done, meet us out here, and if there's only 12 people that want to do it, then great, you're the 12. If there's more than 12, we'll put business cards in and we'll draw out. If there's less than 12, then maybe you can bring someone with you or whatever. But come see us afterwards. We're going to be out front, and if you're interested, we'd love to have you. We'll take you out on the trolley bike, and then you can become some of those disciples that go out and help spread the gospel. So thank you guys very much.
Brian, thank you very much. That is a really cool idea. I don't know. I'm kind of jealous of this whole idea, but well, guys, thanks so much for being here. Just in closing today, we want to give another round of applause to both our presenters, Buffy from City of Springfield and Brian from the Trolley Bike. I can't say enough how important it is, you know, that we're all here. We're here to ask questions. That's what adds value to these presenters. When you're able to provide insight, correction sometimes, maybe some inspiration when it comes to Pokemon Go, perhaps. So bring your friends, guys. We are all about growing the entrepreneurial community in Springfield. And just like he said, just go out and, you know, share the gospel of 1 million cups. I like that. It's kind of fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our presenters are going to be out in the lobby. We're going to invite them to do a follow-up interview with our YouTube channel. We'll also have coffee available. Again, thank you so much for being here, guys. We'll see you next week.
I'm happy to introduce Buffy with the City of Springfield. She spoke today at 1 Million Cups. And Buffy, can you tell us a little more about what you do?
I'm the licensing supervisor for the City of Springfield. So licensing is a division of finance. Our primary responsibility is to license businesses here in the City of Springfield. So everyone from the retail store at the Battlefield Mall to the food truck on the parking lot to the individual participating in a craft show, we help them get their business license and renew those every year.
Great, great. So at what point does someone need a license?
Actually, the code specifies that as soon as you begin soliciting or advertising, even before you're actually grossing any revenue, you need that license in place before you begin offering your services to the public.
Great. What kind of businesses need a license?
More need a license than don't. There's really very few exceptions. A not-for-profit likely won't need a business license. A few professional occupations won't because the state mandates that. But for the most part, if you're soliciting and offering services, chances are you likely need that license.
Wonderful. So if they need their questions answered, they can contact you at the City of Springfield. Great. Okay. So what can we as a community do for you?
My greatest suggestion would be, as a form to help each other in the community, is to reach out early on in that license process. So when you're just beginning your business plan, when you're developing your idea, go ahead and reach out to the city. Let us help explain what steps you're going to have to go through. Let us walk you down that process so that you don't hit a point and you have an unpleasant surprise or you're unaware of what's next. Let us help you from the very beginning.
I can see that. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you presenting today. Great. Well, I want to introduce Brian from Trolley Bike. He presented today at 1 Million Cups. So, Brian, how did it go today?
It was a lot of fun. We had a great time doing it. I think I should look at you instead of looking at the camera. But it was a lot of fun. Wasn't really sure what to expect. You guys made it very painless. Good crowd, lots of good questions. So if anyone out there is considering doing it, I definitely recommend it. It's a great way to get exposure for your business.
Wonderful. Okay, so we always like to ask, what can we as a community do for you? How can we help you?
Well, I ask anyone, obviously the best thing is to come try out the trolley bike, or if you have ideas on things we should consider that maybe we haven't thought of, shoot us an email. All our information is on the website, thetrolleybike.com, so get in touch with us and let us know what we should be doing that maybe we haven't thought of.
Wonderful. Great job. Did a great presentation today. So excited to have you guys in Springfield.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.